Hi, I'm John Hornick. Welcome to lesson 47 of Chef's Apprentice, learning to cook like a pro, one small plate at a time. This lesson is pickled watermelon, aged balsamic vinegar, and ceviche. This dish is visually stunning and full of intense flavors. It makes a great first bite. Here you will start to learn how a vacuum sealer can be used in food preparation and how to make a quick watermelon pickle. You will also learn to make ceviche, in which fish is cooked, or more accurately cured, in an acidic marinade with no heat. Here, the citric acid of the citrus juices cures the fish. These bite-sized pieces of fish will cure very quickly in the marinade and therefore need only about 5 minutes. Don't marinate the fish much longer than that or it will become mushy as the acid breaks down the fish. Techniques today are cubing watermelon, grating ginger, chopping, vacuum sealing and making a quick pickled watermelon, portioning fish, making a marinade and ceviche, plating, finishing, and garnishing. So let's start cooking. Okay, we're here to talk about the mise en place for lesson 47, which is pickled watermelon, aged balsamic vinegar, and ceviche. Of course, we're going to need some watermelon, and preferably seedless watermelon like this. These are about 1-inch square cubes. We're going to use 2 per person. We're making, well, the description calls for enough to make for 8. I'm actually only going to make for 2 tonight, but I'm going to make a few extra of these watermelon pickles. And all the ingredient amounts that I'm giving you is the amount from the description, so you make for 8, even though I'm making for less tonight. We'll need to have 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. We've used that many times before. About 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. We'll need to have some really good balsamic vinegar. You can buy aged balsamic vinegar in Whole Foods or in Italian specialty stores. And so you'll need to have a good bottle of balsamic vinegar. Some Fleur de sel. Now, Fleur de sel is a very fine sea salt that comes from France. That's what I call for in this preparation. You could also use Malden sea salt. If you don't have a fine sea salt, use kosher salt. And you also need to have some lime juice. We're going to need about 6 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lime juice. We'll also need to have about, 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. I've already done that. You also need to have 4 tablespoons of yuzu juice. Now, yuzu is a citrus fruit from Japan. I've never seen the actual fruit in the United States, but you can find concentrated or bottled yuzu juice. I found this yuzu juice at a local supermarket. And we'll need to have 4 tablespoons of yuzu juice. Now, if you can't find yuzu juice, just use an equal amount of lemon juice and lime juice. So for 4 tablespoons of yuzu juice, you would use 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Now, I realize that we're already using lemon and lime juice in this preparation, but you're using them in a different proportion. If you're using them as a substitute for yuzu juice, use an equal amount of lemon and lime to substitute for yuzu. We'll also need to have 1 teaspoon of a pretty good Japanese soy sauce. I'm using the Mitoku brand, which I've used before from Natural Import Company. Also have to have 1 teaspoon of grated ginger, peeled and grated. 1 teaspoon of finely chopped garlic. Also, a peppery spice called piment d'Espelette. Now, this is a French spice. It's not so hard to find, so I recommend using that. You could also use sashimi togarashi, which is Japanese spice, very similar actually, and you can find both of them at Asian grocery stores. You can find them online, obviously. And then about 1 tablespoon of chopped mint. And then, of course, we will need fish for the ceviche. Now, I have halibut here today. You could also use cod. You could use Chilean sea bass. And you're going to need to have 3 slices per person. So for 8 people, you'd need 24 slices. And the slices you want to be about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick, and about this is about 1 by 1.5 inches long. Now, why is it that size? Well, that's the size of the piece of fish. So the fish was about 1 inch tall and about 1.5 inches wide, and then I just sliced 1/8 to 1/4 inch slices off of that. You want it to be fairly thinly sliced. Okay, that's all the ingredients. We'll break now, come back, and I'll show you the equipment you need for lesson 47. And for lesson 47, we're going to need to have a cutting board and a chef's knife. We'll also need to have a slicing knife. I like to use the longest slicer I have so you can make one smooth cut through that fish, get those slices. Now you do not need to have Siberian Huskies. Mine are making a cameo appearance in this video. You also need to have a juicer to juice those limes and lemons, a peeler to peel the garlic, a grater to grate the ginger, and a pair of kitchen shears or scissors, or even just your chef's knife to open the vacuum sealing bag at the end. Also need to have 2 mixing bowls and spoons, one to mix the brining liquid for the watermelon, the other one to mix the marinade for the fish. Need to have some paper towels and also a vacuum sealer bag that's about a foot long. I've already sealed it at one end. And then we'll need to also have a vacuum sealer. Now this one is kind of a dinosaur. It's an older one, Food Saver brand. Remember here, we're learning to cook like a pro. So you're gonna need equipment like this, and you will definitely need this later on in the course when we start doing sous vide. Okay, so that is, and we'll also need some plates to plate up, but I'll pick those later. That's all the equipment that we need for lesson 47. We'll break now, come back, and start cooking. Okay, the first thing on our prep list is to take that rice vinegar and the salt and mix it together in a bowl. Then we're going to toss the watermelon in this mixture, which is a brining mixture, but it's a very simple pickling mixture basically. And then we're going to put it in the vacuum bag wrapped in paper towels. Now the reason we wrap it in paper towels is because there's a lot of liquid here, and the vacuum sealer is going to want to pull the liquid out of the bag, all right? And that's fine, but we don't want it to go into the vacuum sealer and kill the vacuum sealer, right? So what we want to do is have the liquid sucked into the paper towels. All right, so we've mixed that up. We're going to toss this watermelon. I'm making 3 cubes, 1 inch square per person. And again, I'm only making for 2 tonight, but I'm making a few extra, okay? Now these are all nice and juicy now with this brining liquid. We're going to take them and put them on some paper towels with a little space between them. Why? So we can extract the liquid that's between them when we put them into the vacuum sealer. All right, now put another layer of paper towels on top of that and try to close it up a little bit, right? Then we want to put that into the vacuum bag. And the next thing, and you're going to put it down in the bottom. Now the reason is, and the reason you wanted to have a bag that's at least a foot long, is because that vacuum sealer is going to want to pull liquid and air out of this bag, okay? So by having the paper towels and by having some space in the bag, I'm hoping that we can extract the liquid out of, extract some of the liquid out of these watermelon cubes, and it will get trapped in the paper towels, and what does come out of the paper towels into the bag will have some room to spread around before it gets up to the top here where the vacuum sealer is sucking the air and the liquid out of the bag, okay? So what you want to do now is put this into your vacuum sealer and seal it according to the manufacturer's instructions, and then put this bag into the refrigerator for 1 to 2 hours. I wanted to show you what this looked like after I vacuum sealed it. It worked perfectly. As you can see, each one of the watermelon cubes is defined, but they're actually inside of those paper towels. So what's happened is the vacuum sealer has pulled the liquid out of the paper towels, which is saturated, pulled it out of the watermelon, which has saturated the paper towels. And it worked exactly like I was hoping, where the liquid simply got pulled into the paper towels, did not get pulled up into the upper part of the bag, did not get pulled into the vacuum sealer itself. So now we're going to put this in the fridge for 1 to 2 hours. Okay, while the watermelon cubes are chilling, we're going to mix the marinade for the fish. So first we will add the lime juice, then the lemon juice, yuzu juice, soy sauce, ginger, garlic. And then mix them up well. Okay, now we're going to leave this marinade at room temperature, and we're not going to be doing the marinating until about 5 minutes before we plate up and serve. Because if we let the fish sit in this marinade too long, it will start to get mushy as the acid breaks down the fish. It doesn't need more than about 5 minutes to cure. Okay, so we're going to break and go on to the next step and use this marinade right before we plate up. Okay, so the watermelon's been chilling almost 2 hours now. What we're going to do before we open it up is we're going to marinate this fish. Remember, we're only going to marinate for about 5 minutes. We're putting it in the marinade now, and by the time we get everything else ready to plate, it should be ready to go. Okay, here's our vacuum sealed package of the melon pickles. I'm just going to use my chef's knife to cut this bag open. Very versatile tool. Remove the paper towels and carefully unfold them. Now what the vacuum sealing does in addition to the pickling is it helps to intensify the flavor and kind of compact those cubes of watermelon, so you get a little bit redder flavor, a little bit redder color, more intensified flavor, and of course you're getting the pickling as well. All right, so now what we're going to do is, well, I'm going to taste one, see what it tastes like. Well, it's like a pickle. It's like a pickle. Okay. Now, to plate, I'm going to take 3 cubes per plate. I think the description calls for 2 cubes per plate. You can do 3 if you like, you just have to make more. All right, then we're going to put a little bit of an incision in the top of each one of these pickles. A cross incision with a paring knife. Then we're going to take our balsamic vinegar and just drizzle just a little bit, just a few little drops on top of each one. And try to get them down into that incision if possible. All right, now the fish has been marinating for about 5 minutes. And just shake off the extra of the marinade, lay them next to the pickles. Make sure they look nice. Now we're going to put a little sprinkle of just a few grains of Fleur de sel on the fish. And just maybe 1 or 2 grains on each piece of the watermelon, but they've been brined with salt, so they don't really need salt. Then we're going to put the piment d'Espelette, just a little sprinkling on top of each piece of fish. And then finally, we garnish the melon with a little mint. Okay, so there we have it. This is lesson 47, pickled watermelon with aged balsamic vinegar and ceviche. You can see photos of the final dish at my Instagram, which is @Chef's Apprentice, Cook Like a Pro. Next up is seared sea scallop with roasted sunchoke and apple puree. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.